Hello, Chords.
Welcome back to Reminiscence in Chords. Today we have a guest with us from a non-profit organization called Music and Memory. No, it's not affiliated with this podcast, but they're on a mission to bring personalized music to people living with cognitive and physical challenges, helping them reconnect with themselves, with their families, and with the world around them. The results, as you will hear today, are nothing short of extraordinary. I am delighted to welcome Justin from Music and Memory. Can you tell us about Music and Memory? What is the heart of what you do and how did it all begin?
Great question. So first off, thanks for having me here today. It's really a pleasure. So Music and Memory started with this understanding that the music we love the most during our formative years is really embedded in our conscious and unconscious brains. And as amazing as that idea is on its own, for us at Music and Memory, it's even more amazing because working with people with dementia or with age-related cognitive loss, you can actually reawaken memories within the brain through favorite music. And that was really the start of Music and Memory, this idea that, and this is borrowed from music therapists, that you can trigger cognition within the brain by playing someone songs from their youth that trigger memories. Because when you trigger a memory, it brings so much more with it. And that was really the start.
Interesting. But what drew you personally to this work? Was there a moment that made you say, this is it?
A slow moment, maybe. I was a musician for many years, almost 20, before I discovered Music and Memory. But I understood, why, number one, it was important to connect with people through music. I learned that on the stage, watching people, respond to what we were doing. And I sought for a long time to create music that would kind of stick with people, right? I think that's the goal. But I didn't quite understand the full implications of that for senior care until I came upon Music and Memory many years later when, it was fully revealed to me just how long those favorite songs stick with us. I mean, it's really amazing. We, between the ages of 12 and 25, the music that we love really cements itself in our brain. And it's permanent. It's not temporary. So be wary of what you fall in love with. Because
that's what I'm noticing too. Yes, now that I'm doing this podcast, some songs take me back to some memories. So now I'm careful. I'm not careful about the songs that I listen to, but I have to be aware of my environment, what I'm feeling at the time, because I don't want to remember it years later and I'm feeling down or anything. Yeah, I'm so very aware now when I'm listening to music.
All right. So you get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I also noticed that you have a connection to the Institute of Music and Neurologic Function. Can you tell us a little bit about how the two relate and what the work looks like?
Sure. So the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function started in 1995 as a collaboration between Dr. Oliver Sacks, the noted author and neurologist, and a pioneering music therapist, Conchetta M. Tomeno. And together, they struck upon this idea that music can be so much more, right? Music is such a powerful healing force for people living with neurological conditions. And they believe that music is something that every care provider should be able to offer. Their rationale is pretty simple. There are only about, here in 2026, there are only about 11,000 board certified music therapists in the United States. Only 11,000. Yet there are millions of people in residential care, senior care, with a need, and millions more aging in place at home. So there's this disproportion. And so they believe in scalable models, empowering staff with tools, best practices from music therapy. And that's what Music and Memory is. It's really a scalable model. Music and Memory borrows this tool of using preserved memories and triggering them. And we've built a whole program around it. And that's really what it's all about. So now the Institute provided a lot of the clinical background when we started. And today we are proud to be a service of the Institute. So they're very much our parent organization. I probably should have started with that.
I figured that out.
It's not hard.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were a musician. What kind of genre did you produce?
Me? I'm a big lover of rock and roll, I guess.
Okay.
Psychedelic rock. But when I was growing up in the 90s, I'm dating myself a little bit here. It was all about psychedelic rock and shoegaze and cosmic rock and all of the heavily affected sort of guitar and synth heavy kind of music that was so big at that time. And that's where I really started. And then when it came down to doing my own thing, I'm a 70s devotee, I think at heart. I've always loved that era of music. And, when it came time for me to write my own stuff, it was actually less rock. It was more pop. I started as a pianist, so I just gravitated towards soft rock, to give you an example, like Todd Rundgren or Rocket Man era Elton John, with piano and strings and horns and things like that. That's my sweet spot.
I know Elton John.
Sure.
Well, what do you mean, sure?
Well, here in 2026, it's been a while.
I know.
It's funny to think of that period as 50 years ago. But
yeah. I don't know about 50 years ago.
Well, maybe not Rocket Man.
Do you still make music?
Oh, daily, yeah.
Oh, nice.
I can't stop. Once a composer, always a composer.
Yep, that's true. Can you walk us through how personalized music actually works? What happens when someone hears their song? The people with the challenges.
Sure. So it starts with our relationship between music and the brain, which is really fundamental. When we're young, our brains are very spongy. Neural plasticity, the brain's ability to respond to external stimuli is very high. So, and especially between the ages of 12 and 25, the music that we listen to really embeds itself in every single part of our brain. And if you look at you can Google, MRIs on this and see, brain scans, people listening to, enjoying music from that point in their lives. And you see every part of the brain lighting up like a Christmas tree. It's amazing. And that has a lot to do with the way our brains are interpreting the music and an emotional memory that's being generated. There are a couple of different types of memory, and emotional memory tends to endure the longest. So when we're at that age and we're falling in love with music, the emotions are being recorded along with the memories. I'll give you an example. When I was 15 in 1990, again, dating myself a little bit here.
Right.
I was allowed to go to the county fair for the first time without my parents. And I have a fond memory of walking into the gates of the fair and, seeing all the lights, hearing the sounds of the rides. And off in the distance, I saw this particular ride with kids screaming on it. And above it all was blasting this rock song, this Guns N' Roses song, Sweet Child of Mine. It's funny to have a memory associated with that song. Whenever I hear that song, I'm right back at that fair again. And it's not just being at the fair, it's the emotion that really brings me back. It's the emotion of feeling like I've arrived for the first time in my life, like my life was opening up. Because for the first time, I was independent, right? And so it's the emotion that drives the memory. And I can return to that anytime I want, which is pretty amazing. But that's the type of song that we look for when we're supporting people with dementia. We're looking for the songs that trigger memories, and the emotion is really the gateway for that. That's what makes it the emotional component so relevant for dementia care.
So do you test them out, or do your family give you like a list of music, or you just make a playlist and keep playing until they react to any one of the songs?
It's a process. It's a process we call becoming a music detective, actually. And when we teach this, we teach it as a series of musical conversations, right? Usually 30 to 45 minutes each, where you're sampling music, you're asking questions. We have a questionnaire that lists key questions like, what was your wedding song? What was your favorite radio station when you were a teenager? Did you go to dances? Back then, everybody was listening to the radio. So, what station you listened to really mattered. And, did you go to church? Because hymns are, very popular, and church music really resonates with people because of the emotional component and things like that. So we try to, these sessions are designed to solve that sort of mystery of what are the 10 to 20 songs that are really going to trigger memories for someone from that period in their life. That's the goal. You want to come away with a 15-song playlist that's going to trigger memories. That's the first half of music and memories process. And the second half is, okay, you've got a playlist that's going to trigger someone's cognition, that's going to use those memories and the emotions to pull out the person. And I don't want to understate this process. If you've watched any of the videos on our website, it's stunning and beautiful.
It is
to see somebody appear, really, and and family members will say, my dad emerges when the music goes on, because it tends to call the whole person. Because what happens is when you pull an emotional memory, it tends to have a cascading effect, facilitating the retrieval of the next memory. So it tends to kind of a snowball. And suddenly the person goes from not being there to just being fully present and having access to their own memory banks again, if you will. It's stunning and beautiful, and it's a wonderful gift in its own right to give back to someone. Now, I
love that.
And I've done this with my family members. I've done this professionally. It is beautiful, and it's part of the gift, I think, to give that to someone. It doesn't last forever. It lasts about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on where someone is in the aging process. But it's still wonderful to give. It
still counts.
Yeah, and then during that window where they're more present, we teach the staff how to maximize that time for therapeutic value. So if you want to support someone's nutrition, if you want to help them maintain a healthy weight, you play the music maybe 30 minutes before mealtime. And what that will do is it will help them to recognize the food, be more aware of the care that's being offered to them at mealtime and things like that. And studies have shown that if you do that, they'll eat more and they'll do better overall. Their nutrition will improve. They'll be able to maintain a healthy weight more likely because they're just aware of their surroundings and what's happening and things like that during mealtime. So if you think about it proactively that way, there's just a lot of moments during the day, outcomes that you can achieve. If someone has afternoon sundowning, extreme agitation in the afternoon, you can usually avoid those episodes if you start the afternoon with music, right?
It is really stunning. Is there a moment, one story, where music reached someone in a way that stayed with you? You don't have to share names, just the memory of it.
More than once. I've seen really happy reactions. I've seen really sad reactions, all beautiful in their own way. But the happy ones are pretty amazing to watch, to see someone emerge and then a broad smile just kind of creep across their face. On the more dramatic side, I've watched people kind of just get up and start dancing, just remembering their wedding song. And, I remember working with someone who was rather despondent and actually becoming a little paranoid about the care that was being offered to them. But when they listened to their music, it was suddenly like that their true self emerged, and their cares were forgotten. All the weight that they were carrying was put aside for a minute, and they just got up and started dancing down the hall. And what was important about that moment wasn't just for her, but everybody saw it on that memory care wing that day. And everybody got it. They were like, aha, that's why we spent all this time doing it. Finding the right music. And that's an important moment, I think, for every organization we work with to start seeing those results, to say, okay, this is the gift that we're giving back to them.
Aside that, what is the most surprising thing you have witnessed music do for a person? Something that stands out to you that you can share with us?
Well, I've seen a lot of different reactions, but I think ultimately aging is a process of developing, I think, a healthy resilience, just to understanding that our lives are not infinite, right? Yep. And having that sort of resilience is really important. And I think getting back in touch with sort of the humanity around your musical self, your musical mojo, what makes you who you are as a person musically, is a fundamental building block in sort of building that resilience. If you look at it from the perspective of wellness, right, what makes us well? What makes us, what is wellness, right? I think wellness is, part of that is identity, right? Just having a full understanding and never forgetting who you are at your core, right?
True.
And I think there's no better way to get in touch with that aspect of your own humanity than like really understanding the music that has shaped who you are. And so it's wonderful for me, and this is, you see this pretty consistently in this work, is to people remember just the remembering of who they are on a musical basis, I think is so important. And I think this is important for young people too, to just always carry that with you. Because this process starts pretty early on. It's intergenerational. It's not just for seniors. Starting at the beginning of your life, you start to build this repertoire of musical building blocks, especially if you're a musician or music lover. Like, what makes you musically who you are? And to be able to carry that through your senior years, I think is really important. And so to see that happen is amazing.
I think most of us didn't realize this. And I think some people still don't know. Well, up until before I started the podcast, music would take me back to 90s and 2000s. And I started a podcast and I was receiving stories from people and songs. Initially, I thought it was just me. I thought it was just something that was special to me. And it was so interesting and fascinating to see that it happens to everybody. Then there's a question. Do you think there's some people that don't like music? Because the way that I love music, I still feel like, I don't know if I've met someone that loves music on that level, because I feel it deeply. Which brings me back to the question. Let's say there's some people that don't like, I don't know how to even say that there will be human beings that don't like music, right? Or maybe they don't have music that takes them back to a certain period. How does that help them
get in touch with that part of themselves? Well, I mean, it's a part of their identity, so they're tapping into that and going back in time. But boy, you really stuck me with that question. What about the people who don't like music? Years ago, I met a bass player who told me he didn't like the Beatles, and I laughed because that's impossible, right? I mean, if it's one of those bands that's more or less universal, and I thought this person must be posturing, for effect. And I think maybe in the same way, people who quote unquote don't like music, maybe they're just not. Maybe they were just never raised on its value, and that's okay. And they're just living that life. But that doesn't mean that music hasn't played an important role. And it certainly doesn't mean that music's not in their brain, whether they like music or not. It's in there.
They just don't know it. They just don't maybe feel it like other people feel it. That's what I think. Is there a song that holds a powerful memory for you personally? Do you want to share a song that takes you back to a memory, then share the memory? It doesn't have to be a heartbreak story.
No. No, I have many, but a nice one, right? I won't tell you any of the darker stories. But
you can tell me anything.
When I was a kid, my mom used to drive us to church every Sunday in her Volkswagen Beetle. This is back in the day of 8-tracks. And she would play her favorite 8-track cassette of John Denver, and she would make sure that Sunshine on My Shoulder always came on. And it always reminds me of her. That's her song. That's the song she gave me. I'm not necessarily a huge John Denver fan, but I'll always be a fan of that song because that's something that she gave to me. Our parents give us songs, and it's a gift too, because it's a shared memory, and it ties us to them and all the emotions that we have about our parents. And that's what's beautiful about that song. That's our song. And soon it's going to be my kids' song too.
You introduced them to the song yet?
Once or twice. We'll get there. They're young.
Okay. Beyond just retrieval, music helps form new vivid memories and can reframe negative past experiences by fostering a positive emotional state. What do you wish people understood about the relationship between music and memory?
Well, fundamentally, we know that music and memory are interwoven throughout our lives and make us who we are on many levels. But beyond memory, music has great healing powers. And if there was any sort of final takeaway I would want to share, it's that, that music its ability to help us goes beyond preserved memory. Music has the power to help us walk again. If you're recovering from a stroke, music has the power to help you to speak again. If you have speech aphasia. Obviously, this requires a board-certified music therapist to achieve these results. And by and large, the vast majority of people would benefit from just listening to their favorite music. It's important, I think, for everybody to know just how far music it can go in terms of healing us physically. It's pretty amazing.
Physically. I haven't tried that.
Well, let's hope
I'm
you
trying
don't
to
have
wrap
to.
my head. Yeah.
We're really just scratching the surface, just in terms of research and what
Right.
we're learning about what music can do. And it does all stem from the fact that we have a lifetime experience with music, and especially rhythm.
Mm-hmm. How can our listeners support Music and Memories work?
Well, just go to musicandmemory.org. We've got a free guide up on our site if you're interested in learning more about this process, maybe doing it yourself with a loved one. Go to musicandmemory.org and click on our free playlist. It walks you through the music detective process, which I described, and using those favorite songs for therapeutic value. And of course, be in touch if you have any questions. We're always happy to hear from people about how they're using music.
I was checking to volunteer. It looks like you have to volunteer physically. You can volunteer virtually.
You can. I mean, there are a number of ways to get involved. I should have mentioned that. So for anybody who's interested in getting involved with this type of work, we're always happy to work with people and with whatever gifts they have and whatever way they want to work with the organization. Sure, in person, if they want to come and volunteer their time at certified music and memory locations, they're welcome to work alongside staff, actually work with seniors there and create playlists and offer the music. But we also love working with people who want to help us fundraise for music and memory. We're actually launching a fundraiser today. And, we're going to be working with a bunch of people to help spread the word as ambassadors. A lot of people collect used equipment for our program, which is really helpful too. So there's a lot of ways to help. And for anybody who's interested, just check out the Get Involved page of our website at musicandmemory.org. We'd love to hear from you.
Good. Justin, thank you for your time. I will definitely be volunteering because I was reading through the how to volunteer. And if I could create playlists and send to you, does that work?
I'd love to hear your playlist, sure.
Hi.
What? Do you want to share a favorite? Do you want to share a favorite with us before we go?
No. No, I was just thinking, how does that work? Say I want to create a playlist designed for people with dementia, because I wouldn't want to create my own playlist. I would want to understand how to go about. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on where someone is in the aging process. If they can respond to you and tell you what they like, then it's a process of asking the right questions. But if they can't, then you need to work with family members and be more of a detective about it, looking through record collections and things like that. If you don't know anything at all, you can figure out when they were 15 years old and look at the top Billboard hits from that year. But we go through all of that in our guide for anyone who's interested and in that situation.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me here. I look forward to working together
Wonderful.
soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dainty. It was great to be here.
You.
Good luck with the playlist.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm going to make a playlist and I'm going to send it to you. How about that?
You're on. Looking forward.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks
Take care.
so much.
To our listeners, if today's conversation moved you, if it made you think of someone you love, someone you worry about, or even just made you want to go press play on a song you haven't heard in years, that is exactly what this show is for. Please visit Music and Memory at musicandmemory.org to learn more about their work, how you can support them, and how you can bring personalized music to someone who needs it. The link will be in the description. And to everyone listening, thank you for being here, for remembering with us. Until next time, I'm Dainty, and remember, every song is someone's memory. What's yours?
Thanks for rewinding with us. If a song unlocked something in you, follow the show, pass it along. And if you've got a moment worth remembering, share it at reminiscence@gmail.com. The next memory we play just might be yours.